So hello everyone, welcome back to another particular lecture series of our reagent chemistry course, and this is the class 26. In this particular class, we are talking about the manganese mediated oxidation reagent such as MnO2 in details. So first let us talk about the MnO2, that is a manganese based oxidation. MnO2, it is a heterogeneous suspension of active manganese dioxide in a neutral medium. It can selectively oxidize, and the important and the notable thing is that MnO2 is used to oxidize allylic, benzylic, propoxylic and other activated alcohol to their corresponding aldehyde and ketone. This is very important, this highlighted point. Like MnO2 is only to allylic, benzylic and propoxylic activated alcohols to their corresponding aldehyde and ketone. And hydrogen bond donor solvent and laser a polar solvent has been shown to exhibit a strong deactivating effect, perhaps due to competition in the substance. This is not that much important. Like this particular line is very important for the MnO2 synthesis. Now let us talk about how to prepare this activated MnO2 complex. Like activated MnO2 can be obtained by the oxidation or reduction reaction of potassium permanganate KMnO4 with a Mn2 plus salt such as MnSO4 under either alkaline or acidic condition, followed by through drying. So basically a redox reaction has been performed to generate the MnO2, where the particular KMnO4 potassium permanganate is treated with Mn2 plus salt, that is a manganese sulfate, in water or alkaline condition to get this particular MnO2, which is our activated reagent here, and H2SO4 and K2SO4 is the byproduct of this particular reaction. So how the MnO2 actually react? So basically you can find here in this particular example, this particular alcohol is the allylic alcohol because the double bond is here and this particular center is the allyl and this particular OH is here. So this is called the allylic alcohol. So in presence of MnO2, just this allylic alcohol are actually converted to their corresponding aldehyde because it is a primary alcohol. So it will convert aldehyde. If it is a secondary one, then it will be shown the ketone. But in the tertiary won't react with MnO2. So for understanding that why this type of activated alcohols like allylic, benzylic, propoxylic are actually react with MnO2, let's dive down into the mechanistic pathway. So initially in solution phase, this alcohol, this is the normal alcohol, we can say that this lone pair of oxygen is actually donated to the Mn to generate this type of complex, and this complex is generated in the manganese surface. After that, what happened? A radical pathway is observed. So this particular CH bond cleavage takes place. Similarly, these oxygen bonds are also cleavage takes place, and it will generate these two radicals. Now, depending upon the stability of this particular radical, the reaction proceeds, and this is the rate determining step, we can say. Now, as we know in the radical chemistry course, I have already discussed that allylic, benzylic, propoxylic case, this particular radical is much stable. So if the R here is either allylic, benzylic or propoxylic, then the stability of this particular radical increases manifold, and that's why that Mn will this manganese type of reagent are actually able to do this type of transformations. For here it is written that allylic and benzylic radical are resonance stabilized, and that's why selectivity towards the allylic and benzylic alcohol oxidation increases manifold in presence of MnO2. Okay, so here it is also written that the allylic benzylic selectivity occurs because the analogous radical intermediate, this is this particular intermediate, this is very important, is in the oxidation of alcohol that is not allylic or benzylic. Like if it is not a allylic or benzylic alcohol, then formation of this radical, this bond cleavage is very less, and that's why this type of reaction selectivity will decrease. So if it is an allylic, benzylic or propoxylic radical, then only this type of cleavage observed and this radical is generated. So now what should be the next step? So in the next step, in the rapid final step, that Mn3, this is the Mn3. Mn3 is reduced to more stable Mn2. Like Mn2 is the most stable, where Mn3 is the least stable. So this type of homolytic cleavage is observed. Like this particular bond breaks apart and this also breaks apart. So this CO bond is formed via radical pathway. So double bond is formed to give the aldehyde product, which is washed away from the oxidant solvent by the solvent. So as this particular bond cleaves apart, the corresponding aldehyde are actually removed from the Mn surface and go to the solution state. So this is our final product, and this will be our side product is there. Okay, so I hope this mechanism is clear to you. Now let us deep down some kind of example. So here you can find that this particular starting material contains two different type of OH. So this is the benzylic OH and this is the normal primary OH. So as I already discussed that in the case of MnO2, benzylic radical is generated here, which is much more stable due to the presence of this particular pH group. That's why that this selectivity towards benzylic alcohol to ketone generation is much more facile here, and that's why this particular OH is actually oxidized, and this will this red OH remains intact. Similarly, in the next example, you can find this particular OH is much activated OH because of this two particular triple bond. This is a propoxylic OH. So this will also actually in presence of MnO2 selectively reduce, oxidized to their corresponding ketone compound. Also in the third example, you can find here that this is also a OH present in the benzene ring, and this particular OH is also there, which is present in the benzylic position. As we already discussed that MnO2 is actually oxidized in the benzylic, allylic and propoxylic position OH. So this will getting selectively oxidized to their corresponding carbonyl compound. So with this, we have to end this particular MnO2 based reagent on oxidation. So in the next class, we talk about some DMSO mediated oxidation. So thank you for listening.